Hey everyone, welcome back to Jashelle Tech TV. In this video, I'll be chatting with Maria, who is an entrepreneur in the tech industry and a published author. Maria is a good friend of mine with extensive experience in her field. So, in this video, we'll dive into Maria's tech journey, expertise, and insights. So, with that said, hi Maria.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So, we will start with some introductory questions. So, as an entrepreneur in the tech industry, can you talk a little bit about what you specialize in?
Yes, I specialize in email marketing and marketing automation.
Okay. And how long have you been specializing in email marketing and automation as an entrepreneur?
I started in 2012, actually. August of 2012 is when I left my full-time corporate job at the time and started specializing in email marketing. And then marketing automation. So I have been a certified expert with marketing automation software called Entreport since 2017. So what is that, 6 years now?
Nice. Okay. And can you briefly describe what email marketing is and the primary responsibilities that come with it?
Yeah, so email marketing is basically leveraging email as a communication channel to convert contacts into customers. So that's basically email marketing. And then some of the primary responsibilities include copywriting, actually setting up the emails, like triggered emails, for example, which kind of leans more into the marketing automation part of it. Also, KPIs or key performance indicators. So establishing what those are so that when those campaigns go out, you can accurately measure the success of them. And then also testing, putting together the actual email itself. We don't really dibble and dabble into templates as much, but I know we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, so that's it. We are just responsible for every aspect of email marketing. And I know that sounds a bit like vague because there are so many steps even within like the copywriting part. But again, I don't want to get too deep into the details just yet because I know we're going to explore that a little later on.
Okay. So, what are the key advantages of email marketing as a digital marketing strategy, and why is it essential for businesses?
So, one of the key benefits of leveraging email marketing is that out of all the digital marketing channels out there, be it blogs or even paid advertising through social media, email marketing has the highest return on investment. So, for every dollar that you spend on email marketing, you can expect to receive somewhere between 32, 36, or even some sources say up to $42 per dollar invested. So, that's the first thing. The other thing is that unlike social media, for example, which changes all the time. I mean, it seems like every time I get into Facebook or TikTok or Twitter, these platforms are changing almost by the week, certainly by the month, if not by the week. And email has been that one consistent channel that has had very nominal changes over the past 30 plus years since its inception. Last but not least, another, really cool thing about email marketing is that it is a one-to-one conversation. So it's kind of assumed that when you see an advertisement on Facebook, for example, that ad is not speaking directly to you, right? Like it's pretty much assumed that that ad is written for the masses, maybe the masses in a specific area of interest, but the masses nevertheless. Well, email marketing is a one-to-one conversation, right? So I'm actually sliding into your DMs. I know people say DMs, but I'm sliding into your inbox, and I'm doing so with the intent of establishing a rapport with you, and of course, eventually selling you a product or a service that solves a pressing issue for you. So because email is a one-to-one communication channel, what that does is it helps brands establish a really deep and authentic rapport with their contacts. So, oh, and one more thing, this is kind of like a bonus one, but another thing that makes email so remarkable is that unlike social media where you're pretty censored, of course, some of these platforms have been challenged quite a bit on how they censor creators, especially creators of color. Email is not quite like that. I mean, so long as you are within the federal guidelines of the CAN-SPAM Act, you don't need Mark Zuckerberg's permission to post, or to send a communication to your list. You don't need Elon Musk to give you permission to send something to your list. That's one asset that you own and control. So no one's going to come and shut you down and overnight you've lost all of your contacts. So yeah, email is pretty amazing, if I do say so myself.
That makes sense. And what types of clients or businesses do you primarily work with?
So we primarily work with founder-led brands. So think of like your coaching or consulting businesses, but also, I mean, we also have worked with colleges. We've worked with alumni associations. We've worked with financial advisors and financial institutions. We've worked with municipalities. So we have worked across various sectors, but for the most part, we primarily work with coaches, consultants, people in those spaces.
Got it. Okay. So prior to starting a business focusing on email marketing, did you ever work for a company doing email marketing, or were you doing something entirely different?
I was doing something a bit different. I wouldn't say it was entirely different. So my journey on a like corporate level started as soon as I graduated from college. I interned at the Home Depot's headquarters in Atlanta as a marketing intern. And so in that capacity, I was a copywriter. I mean, I was a marketing intern. That was my official title, but I did quite a bit of copywriting. More notably, I wrote radio ad copy that was recorded by Steve Harvey and Tom Joyner. So that was pretty
Nice.
awesome. I also ended up working for a retirement community. So that was actually my last corporate job, if you will, before I went on to, do work freelance and then eventually start my own business. So when I worked at the retirement home or the retirement community, my title was a marketing assistant, and my responsibilities in that capacity were the analytics. So I was responsible for looking at the numbers, like this is how many leads came in, this is how many of those leads came in for a tour of the property, and then this is the number of those that came in for a tour that we actually converted into a tenant. So it was very analytical, which in hindsight, I really love it. Then I was freaking out because numbers used to scare me, but that position actually really helped me tremendously in the role that I am now as a CEO and founder of an email marketing firm. So yeah, that one was very analytical for sure. And yeah, that was it. I mean, I quit that one in August of 2012. And so here we are now with my own marketing firm.
Nice. So how did you get started in email marketing, or what motivated you to become an entrepreneur in this field?
So when I did quit my last corporate job in August of 2012, I started freelancing full-time as a copywriter. So you'll notice I may interchangeably say like copywriter, email marketer, and things like that, because really in my capacity, I am writing the content as well. My team and I are actually writing the content. So I may interchangeably use those words. With that being said, I was hired as again, freelance copywriter at the time. And the thing that really like shocked me and let me know like I was onto something is I was writing some sales emails for a client. There was an affiliate offer that this client was selling, and I wrote some sales emails. And in one weekend, that client ended up making over $10,000 in one weekend. And this is again with sales emails. There was no other channel being used at the time to promote the products at that point. We were literally just doing email marketing, and I had written those emails, and the client was able to make over $10,000 in sales commission. So that was when, I was really awakened to the power of email. And again, that was in I don't know if that happened the same year that I left my corporate job. You know what? I think it did, but there's a possibility it could have happened like the following year, 2013. But nevertheless, within that year of quitting my corporate job and going full time as a freelancer, as a copywriting freelancer, that's when I learned like, whoa, email is like the way to go. I probably need to dive into that more often. So yeah, it was very eye-opening for me.
Wow, that's pretty good. So nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So do you work with a team of people, or are you more of a solopreneur?
Yes, I do have a team now, two amazing team members. One is based out of Austin, Texas. The other one is based out of the Chicagoland area. So I'm very fortunate to have them.
Nice. And so does everyone on your team primarily focus on email marketing, or do you have team members with diverse roles and responsibilities?
So I do have a team member that is, her number one responsibility is email marketing. Again, all aspects of email marketing. But then my other team member is responsible for all the administrative tasks, making sure that I'm staying organized, to be honest, because I'm I'm the one that's all over the place between speaking engagements, workshops, writing emails, all of that good stuff. So she's responsible for keeping our organization tight, by taking care of all the administrative stuff and ensuring that my calendar is not getting any crazier than it already is.
Okay, nice. And so, would you like to add more people eventually, or do you prefer having a smaller team?
Oh, I definitely plan to add more people. I mean, one of my visions as an entrepreneur is to empower women in particular, because statistically speaking, women, we oftentimes are underpaid and underappreciated in the workforce. So my goal as a woman business owner is to hire more women and provide livable wages to these women. So I definitely want to expand the team for sure. And it would bring me great joy to be able to bring in, more ladies. And obviously, diversity is important to me. So I'm not going to sit here and say that we're only going to hire women. I mean, that would be ridiculous. But I will say that one of my passions, my areas of passion, is to give women livable wages and give them a voice in the workforce.
Nice. Okay. So
Thank you.
do you ever collaborate with other professionals or companies in some of your work?
Yeah, so I do occasionally, contingent upon the workload. I will work with some freelance copywriters because, I mean, as you know, with me sharing about my team size, we're a pretty lean team, we're very small. So I will contract some additional copywriters to help, especially like around the Q4 time frame of the year. That's when all the crazy sales are happening. You have your Small Business Saturday, you have your Black Friday, your Cyber Monday, your Christmas Eve, your Christmas Day, your New Year's Eve. I mean, all these crazy sales that are happening in the US in particular. So I do oftentimes contract some additional copywriters to come in and help us fulfill some of those emails that need to be written for those sales.
Makes sense. Okay. And another thing I want to mention is that you also wrote a book relating to email marketing as well. Can you talk a little bit about it, such as key insights and how it can benefit either email marketing professionals, businesses, or anyone interested or invested in learning more on this subject?
Yes, so Words Are Wealth, that's my baby, that's my book. And a few of the key insights that I offer in Words Are Wealth is number one, and just dispelling the myth that you have to be some sort of grammar czar to be a great email marketer or a copywriter for that matter. That is just totally not true. Another insight that I provide there is also, or in the book, is that there is an actual framework that can be leveraged by anyone. Again, you don't have to be a professional writer. You don't need to be a seasoned writer in order to successfully draft these campaigns. And so the name of that strategy is called the Cute Content Strategy. And another key insight that I share in the book are some ways that you can try to avoid the spam and promotions boxes. That's a really big one. I mean, of course, every prospect that we meet with, that's usually one of the first questions that they ask us, like, hey, can you help us stay out of spam and promotions? And so, for full transparency, of course, I call them the Google gods. Gmail and all of the other free inbox tools, they're never going to fully release how you can avoid spam or promotions, because of course the phishing attackers and the scammers will leverage that information. So they never release that publicly, but there are some best practices that those of us who are in this space are aware of, and so I do talk about those in the book as well.
Okay, nice. So next, let's dive into building, creating, and sending out emails. So focusing on your process for building and designing your email templates, do you have any specific tools or technologies that you use, like a framework or system such as MailChimp, or do you build out and code your own custom email templates with like HTML and CSS?
All right, so this is where it may get a little controversial. So in terms of in terms of the platform that that we use to put our emails in and stuff, that really is contingent upon what the client is using. Of course, my team members and myself, we're all certified experts with Ontraport. So if the client is using Ontraport, then, that's the platform we're going to use. But we've worked with Constant Contact, we've worked with Mail, all of those email marketing software companies. Now, in terms of templates, I'm actually a bit anti-email templates. I would say I don't use templates about 95% of the time. And the reason why, so my team and I, we send our emails as plain text email. And there are a few reasons for that. So the first one is that if someone is opening your email, you have this really beautiful template with this, really lovely design and all of this stuff, and that contact has a slow internet connection, they're not going to be able to see your content because the system is going to, the inbox provider is going to be trying to load this file, these pretty designs. And so with a weak internet connection, your contact won't even get an opportunity to actually consume the content that you want to share with them because their internet connection is too slow and, it's trying to load all the pretty designs. So that's one reason. The second reason is, as a copywriter, my number one goal is to sell. So when my team and I, when we're writing emails on behalf of a client, if we're writing emails for our own brand, our number one intent is to sell something. And so selling requires a very authentic connection. So when you think about email communications that are coming from your relatives, your friends, and your colleagues, are they sending you emails in a beautifully designed template, or are they sending you a plain text email that gets straight to the point with the information? And I'm willing to bet money that your answer to that question, and that goes for you, Jashelle, and as well as the viewers, your folks are sending you an email, a plain text email. They're not sending you an email with this beautiful design. And so again, as a copywriter, because my goal is to sell my clients' products and services, I'm going to always, again, 95% of the time, I'm going to opt for that plain text email because I want to create a very authentic connection with the contact, the person who is receiving the email. And as I mentioned previously, that's one of the key benefits of email marketing is that one-to-one communication. And I will be honest, you start to lose a little bit of that authenticity when your contacts are opening this really pretty email. It just doesn't quite resonate the way that the emails that are written in plain text do. So for my team and I, to be quite honest, only on very rare occasions, for example, if we're writing a newsletter or something like that, we kind of steer away from the templates altogether and we just do a plain text email.
Yeah, so in a sense, it's kind of less commercialized and it's more personable in a sense.
Exactly.
When I'm thinking about different emails from companies like Netflix or maybe my local smoothie shop, they're definitely beautiful, these beautiful templates, but again, they're targeting again, it's commercialized, so
exactly
it's a little bit different. So you're considering your target audience. My next question was going to be related to walking through the steps you take when either building and designing and or customizing a new email for a client or campaign. So does that include any graphics or is it just completely plain text?
Yeah, I mean, we will include images. If the client really insists on having a template, we will definitely, we're not going to fight the client on it. If someone is just really married to the idea of having a template, we will definitely use a template, but we'll just make sure that we use a very light template, right? Something that maybe just includes the logo, the client's logo at the top, and a few boxes or something. We like to keep it very light because at the end of the day, again, we're trying to bring the contact's attention to the call to action. And if that call to action is to click here to buy the thing, or click here to follow us on social media, or click here to watch our YouTube interview, we want to make sure that we get that CTA, that call to action, across with very little friction. So with that being said, in terms of our process when we're working on a new campaign or something like that, the very first thing, the most important thing in my opinion, is that we get crystal clear on the goal. So what is the goal of this particular email? Is the goal of this email to actually, or campaign, to sell something? Are we selling the client's product or services, or is the point of this particular campaign to stay top of mind So that way, when the contact receives the email and they're ready to make a purchase decision, they may not be ready to make a purchase decision today, but because your brand has stayed top of mind in their inbox, when they are ready to make a purchase decision, they're going to think about you. And so once we're crystal clear on the goal, that becomes our North Star, or our guiding, star, if you will. And everything else kind of trickles down from there. So I know we're going to get into, content and stuff like that a little later on, but just from the technical aspect, like what I like to call the anatomy of an email. So of course, we started thinking through that subject line, because the subject line is pretty much like the cover of a book. So you think about a book cover, if you're interested in reading a book that is going to give you some recipes, some Southern recipes, right? Are you more inclined to read the book that is titled Southern Recipes, or are you more inclined to choose the book that says toe tapping, knee slapping Southern recipes? And so it just depends, right? I mean, it really depends on the audience. Some people, I've asked this question before in a group, and some people said, well, the first title resonates more with me because the second one sounds more like a gimmick. Whereas, most people in the audience typically lean towards the latter one, where they're like, wow, toe tapping, knee slapping Southern recipes, like, give me the book now.
It's like
that sounds irresistible. Yeah, exactly. So we really focus a lot on that subject line because we need to make sure that the subject line gets the contact's attention. If we can't get their attention with the subject line, it's a waste of time. And then after that, of course, you put together the content, which I know we're going to talk about a little later on. But another thing that we do that is extremely important is we test. That is just, something that we do not skip. Skip is very important. It's a non-negotiable. So even if the client is using a software that we're not familiar with, we will still require the client to send us test emails before it goes out to their contact list. And so in the testing phase, what we're looking for is, of course, how does this particular email look on a mobile device? How does the email look on a desktop or a laptop? How does it look on a tablet? So we are literally opening this email on multiple devices, and we're also having the email sent to different email addresses. So for example, we'll have an email sent to our business email address, and then we'll have the email sent to our personal email address. And the reason why is because our personal inbox is completely different from the business one. We don't have a promotions tab in our business email address, right? Or email account, but in our personal one, we do. And so what we're trying to see is, where does that email land in this testing phase, right? Because that may or may not dictate how we're going to shift the subject line. And so that's a very important step for us. We need to make sure that we get the test email, because we need to see where that email is going to land in our inbox. And again, I know we're going to get into that a little later on, because now I'm kind of slipping into the content piece of this, but those are the steps that we take when we're putting together a new email marketing campaign for a client or even ourselves.
Okay, now as far as the actual content in emails, can you describe your process for creating new email content and generating content ideas for email campaigns?
Yes. So as I mentioned, of course, the very first step in that process is to make sure that we're crystal clear on the goal of that particular campaign. So once we're clear on the goal, the next step is to leverage the Q content strategy. And so the Q content strategy is a proprietary system or process, if you will, that I've been leveraging now since I have been a copywriter, which started in 2004. I've been a copywriter since 2004. And so basically what the Q content strategy is, and I talk about this extensively in Words Are Wealth, is it's just a guide. It's a guide that you can use to be able to come up with content for your email marketing or, anything for that matter. So the Q content strategy is actually an acronym. So the C stands for current news, the U stands for urgent news, the T in Q stands for tips and advice, and then the E stands for events. And so we literally just go through our process of leveraging those content strategies and then making some notes. And from there, we are able to put together, some content for the entire campaign. So that's our process. We literally leverage, of course, again, we, first establish the goal for that particular campaign, and then we leverage the Q content strategy. And so from there, I mean, honestly, the content ideas are literally limitless when you follow that particular process.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, just based on the acronym, you can find tons of stuff. So CUTE, what is the acronym again?
So C is current news, U is urgent news, T tips and advice, and E events.
Got it. So are there specific guidelines or principles that you follow to maintain a consistent brand voice and tone across your email content?
Yes, there is actually. So one of the first questions that we ask a client when we're onboarding them is whether or not they use profanity. Because the thing is, like, we want to make sure that the brand tone and voice is consistent, that there's continuity and congruency amongst channels, right? So if you're showing up one way on IG Live, for example, we don't want to have you sounding like Albert Einstein via email. It doesn't make sense. So it's very important to us that when we're onboarding a client, we're crystal clear on their tone and the way that they address their followers. And from that point forward, we make sure that we're always infusing some slang words or whatever the client typically says, or even like the way they say it. You know, we can always exaggerate even in written form. We make sure that we do that because it's very important that there is consistency in the brand voice and tone. So yeah, that's literally what we do. We just make sure that we are aware of how that client communicates with their audience on various channels. We do spend quite a bit of time studying our clients. We jokingly call it the stalking phase because we literally are like stalking our clients. You know, we're going through their Facebook and Twitter and Instagram posts and like reading how they've written, you know, their posts and how they're commenting and responding to the people that are responding to their posts. We'll go and look at interviews that they may have done that have been posted on YouTube, for example. We'll go and study those. So we literally just kind of like, we become them. And that's what I always jokingly tell people as a copywriter, you know, my job is to be an actress on paper. I literally assume the role of my client. And so that's how we do it. That's how we're able to maintain the consistency, the congruency, the continuity in the brand voice and tone.
I love that. So you have to kind of get into the mindset of that person or the business owner, and because that's who their target audience is, who they're constantly
Exactly.
to. So you, like you said, assume the role. And what strategies do you use to brainstorm and generate fresh content ideas for email campaigns? I know you said the cute content strategy. Is that the main kind of way you generate ideas, or do you have any other strategies that you use?
Yes. So I was going to say, look, I don't mean to keep, you know, plugging words or wealth, but yeah, I mean, honestly, the cute content strategy really is what we use for inspiration for content for email. But there is another source that I tap into, and that's my very own inbox. So as someone who's been in this industry for, you know, 10 years, specifically email marketing, but almost 20 years as a copywriter, I can tell you that I've gained a ton of inspiration from my inbox in the sense that if I, as an expert in this industry, if I am convinced to open this email, then I know, because again, I mean, I'm, you know, this is what I do for a living, right? So I kind of know what it takes to get the emails open. And so when a brand is able to successfully get me to open an email, somebody that has over 100,000+ unread emails in their inbox, that's a really good sign. And so there have been a number of times where I've ran across a really good subject line, or I've ran across a really great format for an email. And I said to myself, okay, this is good. Like, I'm going to have to use this. And I do. So that's another, you know, way or another tool, if you will, that I leverage is my own inbox. I look and see what other people are doing. And so this is really effective. Even if you think about enterprise level businesses, like even if there's, I know we talked about Netflix earlier, and I do remember recently Netflix had some kind of really catchy subject line that compelled me to open it. And I was like, okay, Netflix, like this is good, you know? And again, I will repurpose what I'm seeing in my own inbox, because if Netflix did it with the billions of dollars that they have on hand, I'm sure they do tons of R&D, research and development. So if this is working for Netflix, I can assure you that it's going to work for the small business owners that we're working with. And so, yeah, my own inbox has been a really great source of inspiration for email content for sure.
That's always a good idea, seeing what other businesses are doing, and if that works for you, it works for you. So I like that.
Exactly. Yeah, no need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, definitely. So could you share your approach to testing emails before they are sent out to ensure they display correctly and function as intended? I know you talked about it a little bit earlier, so I just want to dive a little bit more into that.
Yeah, so I mean, like I mentioned, we definitely test not only on multiple devices, but we also test multiple email addresses. That's super important. We want to test the business email address, and then we also want to test by sending that same email, or those emails rather, in a campaign to our personal email address as well. Another thing, though, in the testing process that's extremely important is that we click on every single link, every single button in that email. There is nothing worse than, sending out an email and the link doesn't work. It is so embarrassing, and there's so much loss in that mistake. It's a very innocent mistake. It happens quite often. You all have probably seen in your own inboxes where, the company emails, like they'll send an email and then like 5 minutes later you get another email and it's like updated, with the correct link or something like that. I mean, it's so embarrassing. We've made that mistake. Yeah, that's why I'm so adamant about testing.
I was gonna say, I've seen like an email forget to fill in the personalized section, so it'll say, "Hi, how are you?" Instead of my name. So
I know. Oh, that's so embarrassing. That actually happened to me recently. I stayed up really late one night, and I was so adamant about getting this email out to my contacts. And the email went out. I did not test it again. Like, I totally was exhausted and was like rushing. And oh my gosh, like the horror the next day when that email went out and I saw, like you just said, hi, first name. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I am literally the expert in this. And like, I completely botched it. And it's so embarrassing because what it does is it completely takes away the authenticity, right? Like now the person realizes, oh, this is just like a merge field. This is not, she didn't actually wake up this morning and think about me. This is just some system where my name is plugged in and she just wrote this email, who knows when. Because I mean, quite honestly, there are emails that I've written, several years ago that are still going out to this day. And I will get responses to those emails, right? People think that I literally woke up that day and like thought about them and sent them that email. And so it's not that the communications are less authentic because they were pre-written. I would argue that there still is some authenticity to that connection, because when I wrote that email, the initial time frame in which I wrote that email, I really did have my contacts at that point in my life as well as my future contacts in mind. So it's not like this deception thing. And I think that's why for me, when the merge field, like if there's an error there, it stings so bad because it definitely dilutes the authenticity that is so important with email marketing. So yeah, we definitely test, the links too. Definitely don't want people being led to a dead page or anything like that. And yeah, and then of course, after that, we schedule it in the CRM system. So yeah, those are the steps that we take for testing. I was trying to make sure I didn't forget anything, but yeah, that's it. We look at the email across various devices. That's another thing, like, the way that it looks on a desktop, for example, or a laptop for that matter, it could be completely different in mobile. And because most people are accessing and reading their email from mobile, it's extremely important that it looks good. So that's another embarrassing thing. Like you get this email and that you're reading it from your cell phone, the formatting is like all goofy and weird. It's just not a good look. And so we're really, really big on testing before it goes out to the masses. So, and that honestly helps tremendously with cutting down on errors. I mean, we have a whole, internally, there are some things that my team members and I do that is very unique to what we do in terms of testing. But yeah, those are the steps that we take for testing for sure.
So do you have any specific tools or software that you use for testing the emails?
No, in our case, we don't really have any specific tools or software. With that being said, I will say that there are companies that specialize in sending emails to what they call a seed list. And a seed list is just a list of emails, and this, because actually it has a dual meaning. But in this context, in the context of a company that you've hired to send your emails to a seed list. So the seed list is just a list of emails that are across various free inbox tools, so Outlook, Yahoo, Gmail, etc. And the company will blast your emails out to the seed list in an effort to give you a report that lets you know where your emails landed. Did they land in the inbox, in the primary inbox? Are they finding that for the Yahoo email addresses, the email is leaning more so into, or landing more so into the spam folder versus the Gmail inboxes? So that's what these companies that offer that service do. Now, as I mentioned previously, unfortunately, even those services cannot guarantee you that when you send the email to your list, that, all of the emails are going to land in the primary inbox, or that they're not going to land in spam, because there are so many factors that, free inbox providers like a Gmail, for example, there are so many factors that they weigh to decide whether or not this particular email is worthy of being placed in the primary inbox, in promotions, or in spam. So even with myself, like, I cannot tell you how frustrating it is when sometimes, for some reason, my emails are landing in, like, my emails from my company are landing in my promotions. And I'm like, why? These are emails that I'm engaging with. It's my company. So, it just happens. And that's why I mentioned earlier, as best as we try as professionals in this industry to mitigate the risk of landing in spam or promotions, the bottom line is that no one is going to just outright tell us, hey, this is what you need to do to avoid spam or promotions. Because again, if that information gets leaked to the public, then all the phishing scammers and all of these other scammers in general, they're going to know what to do to avoid being placed in spam. So it's just going to heighten the risk of people being scammed. And we don't want that. I mean, even me as a professional in this industry, I don't want a lot of consumers getting scammed via email, because then email is going to become a less trustworthy communication channel. So I'm actually quite happy that, the Google gods, as I call them, but the free email inbox providers don't share the guidelines that they leverage to decide whether or not an email is worthy of landing in the inbox versus spam or promotions. Because quite honestly, we do need to maintain the integrity. We all have a responsibility to maintain the integrity of email marketing as a marketing channel. So there are no guarantees, but again, there are companies that offer that service where they will blast your emails out to a seed list.
Yeah, no matter what we're doing, there's always going to be a common challenge. So that sounds like one of them for you.
Definitely.
Do the best you can, like you said, to mitigate the risk. And so once the emails are built, customized, tested, and ready to be sent out, can you walk through your process for this and the tools that you use to get the emails out to subscribers?
Yeah, so this is where marketing automation really comes into play. And so the tools that we use, of course, will be either the email marketing software that the client is using, or the CRM, which is, an acronym for customer relationship management software that the client is using. So once the email is completed, again, once we finish that testing phase and all of that stuff, basically at that point, it's just a matter of scheduling the emails. It depends on the type of emails that they are. So there are some emails that are called trigger emails, which means that those emails are only delivered when the contact takes a specific action. Okay, so for example, if the contact clicks on a link, but within 15 minutes of clicking on the link, there is no conversion, well, then now we can send them a trigger email and say, hey, what happened? We saw that you were interested. You got any questions? You want to talk to somebody? So it just depends on the campaign. But yeah, at that point, we're just going to schedule everything out in the CRM system, or again, in the email marketing software. And it's time to launch. That's the exciting part.
Got it. So You said the CRM that your client is using. So your clients already kind of have something set up on their side, and you're just kind of getting them set up with the email content on your side.
Sometimes we actually kind of act as the marketing department, to be honest, the email marketing department for a client. So sometimes we'll get a client who they've kind of piecemealed a system together. You know, they may have an email marketing system here, an SMS marketing system there, this software that does their landing pages. And so we come in as these certified experts with this, the CRM marketing automation software. And we'll say, listen, get rid of all those tools, right? We're going to build all of the stuff for you in this one platform. You just need one login. You come in here, you can do all of that stuff that you did with those, 4 or 5 different tools that you were using and piecemealing together. So we do oftentimes run across those types of clients who have kind of piecemealed a system together. And so we can come in and kind of sell them on using one really great system. And then other times we do work with clients that are already using a CRM, automation software. And so we just basically handle the content. If they're not using Ontraport, we don't touch their system because that takes up a considerable amount of time for us to try to learn this new platform. So we do solely focus on content for the most part if the client is not using the platform that we're certified in. But it's mandatory that all of our clients, whether they're using the tool that we're experts in or not, we do follow that that we do follow the testing checklist. So, we have the client through their own system send us those test emails so that we can make sure everything looks good, it's working good, the links are linking, all of the things are working. And so that process is still extremely important, whether the client uses what we're used to or not. So yeah, it just depends. Some clients, they come with their own, CRM tool, and then others, we do build it out for them.
Got it. Yeah, because I was thinking about those clients that they may have a business, but they're not exactly tech savvy. And are there ever clients where it's like you have to show them what a CRM is, or, kind of guide them in that process, or clients that they've never seen a CRM? So I was wondering about that. So you kind of just help them in that process in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, honestly, because of the caliber of clients that we work with, they definitely all know what a CRM is. They just may have prolonged their journey to actually leveraging one because, again, they've been piecemealing all of these tools together for so long. And one thing about us as human beings, the average human being kind of resists change, especially if the thing that they're doing is working. So even though it may be an inconvenience that they have to log into this platform to do their text message marketing and this platform to do their email marketing and so on and so forth, if that is how they've generated, their multiple 6-figure business, their multiple 7, 8-figure business, they're not really inclined to change anything. So, we kind of have an uphill battle sometimes, by the time we reach the client and we're like, hey, instead of using all these different tools, why don't you just go ahead and use this one very powerful tool? Sometimes it can be very difficult to convince them, even though they know it's more efficient to just have the one platform that they can log into and do all of those things in that one platform. It's a bit challenging to convince people to switch things up, especially when their business is already successful. And the people that work with us, the clients that work with us, they are already successful in terms of multiple 6 figures, 7, 8-figure businesses. So they've been doing pretty well for themselves for a long time. And then here we are as this new vendor coming in saying, hey, why don't you change this up? So it can be a little challenging, but they are very familiar with CRMs. Any client that we meet with, they are very familiar with CRMs. They just may not want to use them because what they got is already working.
Okay, got it. Thanks for clarifying that, because I'm thinking like, some random person like, hey, I started this business, help me with email. So it's not like that. It's more like people that are kind of already established in business.
Exactly.
So let's talk more about strategy and revenue. So what are some of the ways that you measure the performance and success of your work?
So first of all, it really depends on the client, of course. Some clients that we get, it's just a matter of us building out their email marketing department for them. So giving them a really solid foundation to build upon. And so obviously the success there is the deliverable. We're able to build out an email marketing automated system for them. We're able to already have some emails queued up for them. And so it's just a matter of them pressing go. With other clients, of course, it's, conversions. They want sales. They hired us because they are looking to stay top of mind and convert their email list into sales. And so for those clients, we're looking at what we call KPIs, which is an acronym for key performance indicators. And so those key performance indicators are typically the click-through rate and the conversion rate. Now, a couple of years ago, I would have said open rate as well, but unfortunately with the iOS 15 update, I believe it was, that completely distorted open rates for email. So those are not reliable whatsoever. But what is still reliable at this juncture are your click-through rates. And of course, from those click-through rates, the people going to the landing page or whatever to actually purchase a product or service. So those are the ways that we measure our success.
Okay. Yeah. Somebody purchasing something is definitely success. So,
Yeah.
So what is your approach to client relationships and communication, and how do you ensure that their expectations are met or exceeded?
So in the beginning, there are a lot of touch points with the client, right? Because, this is a new experience for them. Oftentimes when we get with the client, we are usually the first email marketing firm that they've worked with, or we may be like the second email marketing firm that they worked with, and they didn't really like the relationship from the previous one. So there's a little bit of, there's no trust developed there at that point. And so in the beginning, there are quite a bit of touch points. And so the reason for that is because we have to get to know the client, and then we also want the client to get to know us. But after that, once we have established that rapport, we've established that trust with the client, the touch points are very minimal at that point. We just check in with the client once a month, establish some goals and some, some feedback, get some feedback, make sure that we get some insights on the key performance indicators from the previous campaigns that we've ran. And that's pretty much it. So it becomes a very smooth, process from that point forward. Nevertheless, once we have established that, trust with the client, like I said, it's very smooth sailing, and I think the biggest thing for us is that we are really big on setting expectations. So if we get with the client and, they're saying, hey, we have X number of contacts on our email list, and we want to make 7 figures, in 3 weeks with this list. What we tend to do is we will actually lean on the data, and we'll say, hey, so based on industry performance in your sector, this is the average for conversions. And, we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, because what we're not going to do is set ourselves up for failure, meaning we're not going to overpromise and underdeliver to a client. So if we do realize that a client's expectations are extremely high, like way above industry average, we do communicate with them like, hey, this is the average. Are you okay with that? If you're not comfortable with that, then we will not be able to work together, because we don't want to put ourselves in a position to fail. So that's, in terms of client communication, that's pretty much it. Everything that we do, we start with the Google Doc in terms of the emails themselves. So we start with the Google Doc, we send that over to the client or give them access to it. And we use Google Docs because it is really easy for clients to get feedback on the document. So that kind of helps us, get that good feedback, and then we can make any suggested edits. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward process.
Makes sense. So can you share an example of a successful email marketing campaign or strategy that yielded significant results for a client? And what do you think made it effective?
Yeah, so we worked with this client that teaches people how to start a vending machine business. And so before working with us, they had never worked with an email marketing firm. In fact, they weren't really emailing their list very consistently. So what we did is we got them set up with, their email marketing, their automation, their CRM marketing automation. We got that set up first. And then we started writing their emails. And so what they wanted to do, they had a brand new offer. It was a subscription-based offer in which you could subscribe to be a part of this club, where they would give you like more insights into how they were able to start a 6-figure vending machine business. There was a little bit of anxiety, to be quite honest, because with subscription-based services, everybody has one now. And so I was a little nervous considering that they already weren't emailing their lists often. And now on top of that, you want to sell the subscription-based service. I was just a bit anxious about it, but you know, we dove right in. And so we were able to convert over 100 people with the first launch, which is crazy. I've never seen numbers like that, but literally we were able to convert over 100 new subscribers to their, you know, VIP club or whatever the club was called. And yeah, I mean, of course, the client was thrilled. They were extremely happy about that. And that was the first time they had ever presented an offer of that matter or of that type. And then also those conversions were 100% via email, because what they did is they told people, hey, we're going to like make this announcement about this cool new offer that we're presenting, but you can only take advantage or hear about this offer if you're subscribed to our email list. So they literally went on like IG Live and like posted stuff on Instagram, letting people know, hey, we have this big announcement. You got to get on our email list. So literally those conversions came solely from email. They weren't pushing this offer via paid advertising. They weren't pushing it through organic traffic on social media. It was strictly 100% email marketing. And so that was pretty incredible. They were really impressed with that. And then
Wow.
More recently, what we did for a real estate development firm. So this company is brand new. The client came to us because they started a like an investor crowdfunding sort of thing. So not quite like a what's the the crowdfunding platform? It's not quite like a
is it
Kickstarter.
GoFundMe?
Thank you. It's not like a GoFundMe. You actually like own equity in this particular project. And so the client approached us and it was like, listen, I need to raise, you know, X amount of dollars with this investment crowdfunding. And so I need your help. And so what was really cool about that particular project is that we use an omni-channel marketing approach. And if you're not familiar with the terminology omni-channel, that just means that we leaned into several different marketing channels. So we did email, we did social, we did in-person events, we did ringless voicemail messages. We did a lot, SMS marketing, all of that. But email was the primary channel. So everything that we did, we always pointed people right back to email marketing. And as a result of this marketing strategy, the client was able to raise over a $500,000 in investor crowdfunding investments, and again, brand new real estate development. And they were able to like move forward with their project because they raised this money. So that was pretty awesome. That happened earlier this year. It's pretty cool.
Wow, that is powerful. I see.
It is
more powerful than people probably realize. So
exactly.
You talked about this a little bit, but just to dive into it a little bit more, what's a common challenge that you face in email marketing, and what's your approach to solving or addressing it?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You called it out earlier, like making sure that our emails are landing in the inbox and not spam and promotions. And so, as I mentioned previously, you know, the way that we're able to try to mitigate that risk is really, keeping our ear to the street, for lack of better words. So always staying abreast of what's happening in tech, making sure that we're a part of communities for professionals like us, making sure that we are subscribed to publications for professionals like us, and making sure that we attend conferences for professionals like us. So, I mean, even this year, you know, one of my team members and myself, we went to 2 conferences together. This year, I went to 3, technically, if you include the one that I did in France. And so, I mean, it's just very important that you kind of immerse yourself in this space, because technology is changing at a super rapid speed. I mean, we've had more growth in the past year in terms of technology than we have in the past 30 years as it relates to tech. So, I mean, it's moving really fast. And if you're not careful, you will get left behind. And so for us, the way that we're able to try to mitigate that risk of having our emails land in spam or promotions is by making sure that we stay abreast of what's happening in our space in tech, so that we can then go back and advise our clients on best practices and, just do our best.
And sounds like you covered it, this question. Just basically, how do you stay updated with the latest trends, tools, and best practices in the ever-evolving field of email marketing? So conferences is one of them. And of course, you wrote a book about it. And are there any other ways that you like to stay updated on everything?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really lean into digital communities. So, there are Facebook groups that I tap into daily because, for example, as I mentioned previously, my team members and I were all Ontraport certified experts. Well, there is a certified expert group on Facebook just for us. There's a group on Slack just for us. And so I tap into those communities because we oftentimes share information and insights with one another as the technology is changing. I mean, of course, with Ontraport being a customer relationship management software, they are always on the cutting edge of technology. So oftentimes the president will come into the group and, let us know if there's something new happening in the tech space that we need to be aware of, because it will, inadvertently affect the software that we're using. So definitely tapping into digital communities like Facebook groups, for example. I do that daily. It's super important and really helpful too.
Agreed. Can you provide insight into the typical earning potential in your email marketing business, and what factors or considerations can impact annual income?
Yeah, so we charge on the low end about $350 per email. And just to kind of give you a sense of what does that look like for, let's say, one campaign. So for one sales campaign, for example, you're looking at an average of about 20 to 50 emails. It really just depends on the client's sales cycle. It depends on the product or service that they're selling. And most importantly, it depends on the price point. So of course, those are some factors that we have to weigh. And so in terms of what kind of guides our pricing and stuff like that. So it's the aforementioned that I just referenced, but then also, does this client already have an email list? If so, how many people are on their email list? When was the last time that they emailed these contacts, right? Another thing that we look at is that, how many followers does the client, have on social media? That's another thing that we look at as well, because if they don't have email subscribers, but they do have a large following on social media, well, now that's it's a separate service. Now we've got to get their lead generation up so that we could build that email list. So those are some of the factors that we look at. But again, on average, on the low end, rather, it's $350 per email. And again, one campaign is going to roughly be about 20 to 50 emails. So one sales campaign on average.
As a business owner, if you were to hire someone for your email marketing team, what qualities or attributes would you consider the most important in a candidate, and why?
The most important attributes I will look for, number one, is agility. Because as I mentioned previously, the industry is changing at lightning pace, right? I mean, lightning speed. Every day we wake up, there's some new development, new change. And so it would be very difficult for someone who doesn't really appreciate change, who is set in their ways. It would be very difficult for them to work for me because we are constantly having to shift and adjust our mindset around how we do things to respond to what's happening in the industry. So in order for us to stay relevant and to keep our clients happy, we have to be agile. So that's one attribute that I would absolutely look at, is that this person is agile. And then another attribute, contingent upon what I'm hiring the person for, if it's specifically for the email marketing piece, because my current email marketer does every aspect of email marketing, again, from writing the copy to, actually putting the emails into the CRM if we have that kind of relationship with the client, keeping track of the key performance indicators, running the tests and all of that stuff. I would say that having someone else like that would be incredible. A person who is a good writer. And again, notice I didn't say a great writer, I said a good writer. But definitely having somebody that's a good writer, someone that can be coachable, and that in that space, and who is just a creative in general that can kind of see the vision that we're doing with, or the vision that we're carrying out with email marketing. So those are the two key attributes that I would look for in someone: is agility, and then you have to be a pretty good writer. Not great, just good. Good is fine.
Got it. And it's kind of good to have that pretty much in any tech role, to be able to pick up things really quickly. So what if you had two candidates with equal qualifications and experience, but one has a strong track record of creativity and the other excels in, let's say, data analysis? In your email marketing team, which skill set do you believe would be more valuable and why?
Definitely the data analysis, because the numbers tell a story. Creativity is important. Obviously, I just mentioned that in the previous question, but at the end of the day, the numbers are what we have to lean into. And so I would absolutely be more interested in working with the person who has that comfort and that understanding of the data, because the data is what's going to drive the decisions and the direction that we go with the creative. So for sure would be the data, the person that's really good with data analysis, for sure.
Makes sense. What about two candidates where one has several years of experience in email marketing, but lacking knowledge in emerging email technologies, while the other is a quick learner with expertise in the latest email marketing trends? How do you decide between them?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm gonna have to go with the latter, the quick learner, because again, for reasons that I stated earlier, agility is extremely important. This industry is changing really fast, and so my concern would be that the person that has extensive history in email marketing is probably set in their ways. It's going to be a bit harder to convince them to pivot or to try different things, because they believe that they have, been doing this already for a long time, and this is what has been working for this long, so they don't want to change it. And while there may be some truth to that, there are some fundamental things with email marketing that I don't think will ever change. For example, personalization. Being able to personalize your communication, that's one of those foundational things that you're going to more times than not, you're going to win people over with the personalization piece. But again, because technology is changing so frequently, for me, the fast learner, the person who is open to, kind of keeping their eyes and ears open for new trends and opportunity, that person is a super valuable asset in our organization, because we have to stay on top of what's happening in tech. So for me, it would definitely be the person who's a quick learner and who is, constantly looking for information that's related to our industry. Definitely that person.
Got it. And finally, for someone interested in pursuing a career in email marketing, either as an entrepreneur or for a company, do you have any tips, advice, or resources that you recommend to get started?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, the first thing I'm going to recommend is that you read Words Are Wealth. And I'm not just saying that because it's my book. I'm saying it because it's my book, and it's a mind dump of my, almost 20 years of experience in this space, right? Maybe not specifically in email marketing, 10 years for sure, more than 10 years now. In email marketing specifically. But again, remember I mentioned early on that copywriting is really the foundation from which you build upon as it relates to email marketing. And so I would definitely recommend reading Words Are Wealth, just to kind of get that primer and get a foundational understanding of, email marketing and, the different legal aspects of email marketing, what we like to call the anatomy of email, all of that good stuff. So it's a good primer. Definitely check it out. It's a fast read, like only 119, 20 pages. So I strongly recommend Words Are Wealth. In addition to Words Are Wealth, as I mentioned, for myself, one thing that I invest in, I'm very intentional about this, is, the conference that is related to the industry. Also investing in publications that are related to the industry, and then investing the time into communities, or even money sometimes into communities where you can actually connect with people that are already in the space and kind of get to know more about what this entails. So I strongly recommend check out the book Words of Wealth, but also definitely look at some conferences in the space, look at some publications in the space, and then definitely check out some online communities where email marketers are congregating. You may find them primarily in like copywriting groups, by the way, so it may not explicitly say like Email Marketers United, but you may find something that is like saying copywriters, and I can assure you that within that particular community there will be some copywriters that specialize in email marketing like myself. So that's my suggestion for anybody who's kind of looking for some resources.
And for email marketing, this is if someone wanted to get into a position in this role, this is something that they can kind of self-teach or take a course and get into a role if they wanted to in email marketing.
Exactly. Yeah. There are some online platforms that teach email marketing. And again, even with us, Opens Clicks Cash, we do have a coaching program where we teach people 6-figure email marketing techniques that we've been using for our clients. So there are various programs that you can look into, online courses, like you mentioned, all of those things. There are YouTube channels where people are talking about email marketing. But in my opinion, and people will ask this sometimes, like, why should I pay for something if I can just get it for free? And so my, response to that question is that when you get it for free, there's a level of like time, or not even a level of time. I meant to say there's an investment of time, a lot of time. And then you also have to kind of go through and filter on your own to figure out, like, is this like a reliable resource, or what is this? Is it fake news? Whereas when you pay for access to a mentor, when you pay for access to a community, for example, now what you have is curated content. So you don't have to go digging for anything. It's already right there. It's curated for you. And at least there is a level of validity and relevance because you've paid for this. Now you can hold someone accountable so that if you are, in this coaching program, or you are taking this course and it literally does not address email marketing at all, you can hold those parties accountable. You can dispute the charge. Like, there's stuff that you can do to hold people accountable. Whereas if you're just trying to scour the web and get that information for free, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to surf through a lot of the junk before you get to the gold. So I strongly recommend, if you have the ability to invest the money, definitely invest the money to just get straight to the resource and bypass all of the sifting through that you can do online, because that takes ages.
Makes sense. And so what about those already in the field and maybe looking to just improve their skills in email marketing and stay up to date on the latest trends and technologies? Are there any additional resources for people more in that category?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're already in this space, first of all, kudos. I would just suggest, if you're looking to level up, you definitely want to look into some of the higher level coaching programs that are out there. There are some programs in which you can work alongside very seasoned email marketers like myself, like some of my colleagues in this industry. And, we will show you how to get to that next level in your career as an email marketer, whether you're working for a company or you are working for yourself, or both. So I would strongly recommend looking into some coaching programs. And then, like I mentioned earlier, look in your own inbox. There are companies that have spent millions of dollars on research and development. They have tested these subject lines over and over again. They have tested these email templates over and over again. They have tested how to use various merge fields over and over again. And so there is no need for you to go and reinvent the wheel, when all you have to do is look in your own inbox and see what some of these larger enterprises are doing, or even other small businesses, and just recycle it, repurpose it, make it make sense for your business, or make it make sense for your employer. And voila, there you are. So those are my suggestions for someone who's already in this space. Go ahead and get you a mentor. it's worth the investment. Go ahead and pay the money to have a good mentor who can take you to that next level, whatever that may be for you. And then make sure you also are checking your own inbox and looking at what other brands are doing so that you can implement that within your company or at your place of employment as well.
Got it. And if anyone watching wanted to ask additional questions about email marketing or learn more about you and your journey, either in email marketing and or becoming an entrepreneur, do you have a website or social media pages that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so you can definitely visit our website. It's opens with an S, clicks with an S, cash.com. Again, that website is opensclickscash.com. That's the name of the agency. And then I can be found on social media, although I must admit I absolutely detest social media, but because I'm an entrepreneur, I am on social media. But you can find me on social media. If you're on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Meeting Maria. So that's just MEETING, then my name, MARIA. And then on Facebook, I believe it's just my first and last name, Maria Lloyd. There may be two pages that pop up. One is like a business page. One is like the page I'm on the most. And so you'll be able to know pretty quickly which one is which, because one would have a post probably from 3 years ago and the other one has a post probably from a week ago. So those are the ways that you can reach me. Of course, on LinkedIn as well. First and last name is Maria. I think my LinkedIn is linkedin.com/n/Maria Makes Moves. I am such a sucker for alliteration. I love alliteration. And then last but not least is my YouTube channel, which I actually need to, I'm working on building that up a bit more. So my YouTube channel is at Words Are Wealth. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that my YouTube channel is at Words Are Wealth. That's the handle. But of course, my name, Maria Lloyd, on the profile. So that's how you can connect with me.
Got it. And I'll make sure to put that in the description as well. And also, how can people go about purchasing a copy of your book?
Oh, thank you for asking. So if you're interested in if you're interested in purchasing a copy of Words Are Wealth, you can literally go to https://wordsarewealth.com, the direct website. And yeah, I offer the book in this paperback version, which has this pretty cool metallic, gold foil print. And then, so you have paperback, PDF, and also Amazon Kindle. And when you get to the website, it does show you those three options. The audio version is coming soon. I know people have asked me repeatedly when I'm going to release it. It's coming. But for now, the three formats that I have are paper book, PDF, and Amazon Kindle. So if you visit wordsarewealth.com, you will see the option for all three formats.
Awesome. And I read a little bit of it. The first chapter, I learned a lot. I think it was connect before you correct. So that was good. I like that. Connect with the audience first. Quotes. So I definitely recommend it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So that wraps up the questions. Thank you so much, Maria, for sharing what you do and providing valuable information in our chat today. Please keep up the great work. And if anyone has questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. And you can feel free, Maria, to follow up with anyone here in the comment section. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and see you in the next video.